Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of What the Health Just Happened, where we talk about all things healthcare. The good, the bad, the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights, and everything in between. We also bring on a variety of business owners, community advocates, leaders, nonprofits, you name it. We get them on here to talk all things life, healthy versus non-healthy. Whew, that's a mouthful. This is a long introduction. This gentleman I met originally at the Jacksonville Chamber Health Council. You spoke, but I got to read this. It's going to take me a second. Today's guest, I was immediately drawn to after hearing him speak at the... Again, the Health Council. Geez, man, I'm already see what the intro does.
Jack's Chamber Health Council.
Again, thank you.
No
I like when I fumble the introductions because we're not. This is just life.
Yeah.
So the Jack's Chamber Health Council. I wanted to acknowledge you are an alumni of the best college in the state of Florida.
That's right. Go Ospreys.
University of North Florida. Swoop. We got a hat right here to represent.
Nice.
Long history here. So you studied banking and finance. You're a Navy veteran.
Yes.
I would say healthcare entrepreneur.
Yes.
We might get to. Long list of executive experience in the healthcare space. I think the thing that you're probably most proud of, though, is a man of faith, amazing father to your 3 daughters. Welcome, Stephen Pappas. Do you prefer Steve or Steven?
Steve works.
Steve works. I love, like I said, the intro. We fumbled there, but we got through it. That was a long one.
That was great, Eric.
You got a lot of really cool stuff. And you're going to do the majority of the talking, but I just want to emphasize, you spoke for the Jack's Chamber Health Council about the Leon Haley Brain Wellness Program.
That's right.
There's going to be a lot of talk about that. You and Dr. Sorna, I think was the best, honestly, health council meeting we had all last year, and one of that I've been to. People have emailed us afterwards expressing their gratitude and appreciation for you guys speaking, but I said, I've got to meet this guy. I've got to talk to this guy. Yeah. So we had coffee, emailed back and forth, and here you are on What the Health Just Happened. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Eric.
Let's party.
It's an honor to be here, and I look forward to this conversation.
Where do you want to start?
And I'll tell you what, being the significant impact that the Leon Haley Brain Wellness Program had on me, let's start with that.
Okay.
I'll just give you just a brief background on myself.
The story.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I am the father of 3 amazing daughters, and I have a granddaughter and a grandson on the way coming in May.
Congrats.
Yeah, we're excited about that. And so they're the fuel to my fire. They're the reason why I do what I do.
Amen.
When I was transitioning from the Navy into UNF, I had a mentor tell me, pick an industry, every paper you can choose a topic, write on that industry, and I picked healthcare. And as a result of that, I ended up getting picked up by a local company here that was acquired about 12 years ago.
PSS originally.
PSS, World Medical, yeah. And I worked there, actually, even before I graduated college, started there. But that started the healthcare journey for me. Being the father of 3 daughters and knowing that I wanted to be able to control my time better, I started a consulting agency in 2012. And the purpose of that consulting agency was to commercialize new products and technology into healthcare. And it has been an amazing run. A lot of changes going on in healthcare.
Big time.
Over this time since 2000. And it's just been a great run. But I will say, we were talking about the Leon Haley Brain Wellness Program. I literally am a walking miracle. In the last 6 years, I've survived 2 horrible car accidents. None of them my fault, by the way.
When you say horrible,
okay, so
how fast the damage to the car? I've seen this, I know this, but just to paint a picture of
you got to see a picture of the first one. I to keep it short, I was leaving my daughter's weightlifting competition at Pedro Menendez. Thank God she didn't get in the Jeep with me, and while I was heading towards 95, I was stopped and behind a truck at the Flying J there. And just as I was taking my foot off the brake, I looked in the rearview mirror and I saw something big coming fast. And luckily at the time, I was a much bigger guy, a lot more muscle.
He's still jacked, by the way. Let's acknowledge that.
But I was much bigger. And I saw it last second. I braced, and the impact was significant. And as I had mentioned previously, I saw beautiful colors, and I was at peace. But then all of a sudden, it was like a wormhole. I woke up laying parallel in the back seat because of the double impact. I broke the seat with my back, and I could see smoke and smell fuel. Looked down, I had blood all over me, and somehow I got myself out of the Jeep and ended up having 8 ripped and ruptured discs in my spine, significant traumatic brain injury as a result.
What year was that?
That would have been 2017, sorry.
2017. So
Yep.
then you had not participated in the brain wellness program yet.
No, I hadn't.
So 2017,
2017,
horrible wreck.
horrible accident.
Back destroyed.
Musculoskeletal, 8 ripped and ruptured discs, significant head injury as well. And, I just started treating it with injections. There was some thought on surgery, replacing 2 discs in my neck, but I decided to get in shape and really work through the pain that way. I had lost a dear, dear friend of mine years ago who had gotten addicted to OxyContin, and I refused to take pain pills.
I respect that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I was eating the ibuprofen like they were Tic
It didn't even work anymore.
But luckily was introduced some alternative care and was able to get through the pain. Now fast forward, actually 2 Memorial Days ago, I was a passenger in
I got to do the math on this. That would be 21 or 22?
21.
Okay, 2021.
I'm sorry, 21.
Okay,
Yep,
2021.
correct. Yep. I was passenger in my Jeep. I let a friend drive my Jeep, and unfortunately, I hadn't put my seatbelt on, hit a curb, and I got ejected and then ran over by a vehicle.
Were the doors off?
The doors were off, the top was off, and unfortunately...
You're a Jeep guy, Tim. I'm just trying
I'm
to paint a
Jeep
picture
guy.
for who's listening to this. I have a Jeep.
And I still drive her.
Yeah, you
she's
still
a
got
great.
it.
She's
Her
a great
name?
Jeep. Her name is Big Blue.
Big Blue.
Yes, Big Blue.
Oh, man.
And
ejected and then ran over by...
I caught the roll bar on the way out and couldn't stop fast enough, and I let go, cracked my head on the street, and then the rear tire ran over me.
Oh, jeez, man. It's tough to talk about. I'm sure. I appreciate you sharing the story, but it's to drive to the Leon
Towards
Haley,
the Leon Haley Brain Wellness Program.
thing. So this is 2017, terrible wreck.
Yes.
21, terrible wreck.
Yes.
And then what was the steps? I know you'd mentioned a story about your daughter kind of mentioned something to you.
Yeah. What was crazy is I woke up this accident happened about 5 p.m. I wake up sitting up at Memorial, and luckily I had my Apple Watch in my pocket. I didn't know what had happened, and spoke to the nurse. And having worked in healthcare forever, I did not want to stay at the hospital. When I got run over, my lung had been punctured, but it had been closed. And they wanted to monitor me overnight. And lo and behold, I did not want to stay the night in the hospital.
Oh, man.
I know, what the hell just happened,
Yeah, what
right?
the hell was not
what
healthy,
the hell
by
just
the way.
happened? Probably not my smartest move, but against medical advice, I
You signed
discharged
yourself
myself. And the same gentleman that picked me up, he's a Green Beret, and he picked me up from the hospital that night. And I was home by midnight. And fast forward about 30 days, my middle daughter, who's also going to UNF, she's an Osprey.
Swoop. We say it a lot, yeah.
That's right, Madison. I just gave you a shout out, babe. And she came to me and she said, "Dad, something's not right. You're usually happy, you're usually upbeat." She said, "There's just something wrong with you." So I went to my doc, and my doctor said, and I had done some research on some various brain clinics around the country, and she recommended the Leon Haley Brain Wellness Program.
This was still 21?
21.
And did you notice symptoms, or you didn't even think about it till
I really didn't.
Madison
I really didn't think about it because I was already dealing with so many issues from the first accident. I really couldn't tell the difference. But it really took, and it's interesting you say this because this year in a letter I wrote her, I let her know that she saved my life by telling me I needed to go get help. And my doc told me about the Leon Haley Brain Wellness Program, which is treatment for traumatic brain injuries for veterans and first responders.
Before you dive too deep, I want to acknowledge a couple of things. So if anyone who doesn't know Leon Haley, who, rest in peace, passed away.
Amen.
The fact that it's named after him, I think, is a great representation. But this is specifically designed for veterans dealing with PTSD and traumatic brain injuries.
That's correct. And first responders as well.
First respond. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, they've since added first responders, which, thank you for all the men and women of blue and red and all of our EMS teams out there, because they too have accidents. So my injuries were not combat related. And that's what's great about this program. It doesn't have to be from combat. And I went through the 3-day screening assessment that they do, and it's a lot of assessments and tests and conversations. The beauty of this program is I only had to tell my story once. And Eric, you saw me speak at the Jack's Chamber. It can be emotional because when you get that close to going to the pearly gates, it's a traumatic experience. And what was beautiful about this program, not just during the 3-day assessment, but ultimately it's a 3-week intensive outpatient program. And the clinical team, which is your traditional neurology, neuropsychology, physical therapy, but they also bring in non-traditional, which would be your acupuncture, mindfulness, art therapy, speech therapy, Tai Chi, which was absolutely amazing.
Were you skeptical about Tai Chi? I hear some of these things too, which we're going to talk about. But
yeah, my father introduced my brothers and I to martial arts when we were young, and I'd always been a huge Bruce Lee fan.
Oh, he's the best.
And I tried to do his moves in my underoos back in the day in the basement. But no, I was open to it. And but the beauty of the program is the clinicians all work together. And I only had to tell my story once, and I did. I typically back then I would cry when I talk about it. It just takes you back to those moments of trauma. And as we're learning now with all of the advances in neurology, those traumatic events leave an impression on you. And thanks to my daughter Madison, I was able to get in that program and go through it with actually 3 other Navy veterans in the 3rd class.
I'm going to keep saying this over and over because, again, if one veteran or first responder hears this and is like, man, maybe something's going on, like that's a win to me. The 3-day process, so it doesn't have to be combat related. That's a big one, right?
Correct.
So your incidents were post-Navy.
Post-Navy, yep.
Completely unrelated to anything in the military or a first responder on-duty stuff. The 3-day process, how in-depth was that? I mean, the fact that you only have to tell your story once, that's a big deal. You don't have to tell it to 8 different doctors.
It's a brand new facility by UF downtown. We're at a big board table, and I told my story, what had happened. And there was actually a 3rd accident that happened when I was 14 with a moped. So I got to tell all about it right at one time. And at the end of the program, I'll never forget it. The executive director there, Kelly, walked me to my car, and she said, "Steve, you need this program." And it was a no-brainer. And the beauty about this is that it's free for veterans and first responders. There have been some amazing donors. The Leon Haley Brain Wellness Program is part of the Avalon Action Alliance, which has about 6 TBI clinics around the country.
Traumatic brain injury, if anyone doesn't know what
Traumatic
TBI
brain
is.
injury, yes. And they also treat PTSD. They also have substance abuse recovery clinics associated with them. There's a huge correlation between TBI, PTSD, and substance abuse. But the beauty of the program, again, I would say, is the clinical collaboration. In that when I would go from again, it's 3 weeks long, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
3 weeks, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day.
8 hours
this
a
is
day.
not a teledoc visit.
No, it's not. And it is very well coordinated. I went through with 3 other shipmates, 3 other people that served in the Navy.
Did you know them before this?
I did not know them, but they are like family today.
I was going to say, how close are you guys after
We're
this
very
program?
close. Tip, Shane, and Honor, shout out to you.
Yes.
I love you guys. And we stay connected to this day. And we learned a lot about each other when we went through it. But I will say this, Eric, that the ninja of the program, I would say, is really 3 elements. Art therapy, speech therapy, and we did horse therapy as well.
I'm going to pause because I want to put an emphasis on the art therapy, especially the mask. You talked about that. And I wrote this stuff down. I went on the website. So I wrote these down. You got art therapy, behavioral therapy, case management, cognitive therapy, integrative therapy, neurology, neurophysiology, pharmacology, physical therapy, psychiatry, speech and language pathology.
Yes.
This is an intense program.
It is.
And I would assume a lot of men and women may be skeptical to look into it due to pride or nothing's wrong.
Pride.
But you know, as an advocate and someone who's experienced this, you can't emphasize this enough, right?
I can, especially my fellow veterans and even those that are still active duty. The good news is the active duty military and the leadership are starting to understand that there are hidden wounds from battle and from combat. And the Avalon Action Alliance and the donors behind that, which were the founders of Home Depot as well as the Gary Sinise Foundation made a pretty significant
Big names.
Donation to UF to help get this program going. It really is magic. And as you saw at the Jacksonville Chamber Health Council meeting, I tell my story because I can relate to a lot of these veterans. As I said, I have some of my very good friends who are still active duty. I have, for the last 4.5 years, have been mentoring veterans through Veteran Treatment Court in St. Johns County with Judge McGillen, and really just helping my brothers and sisters kind of get through life and be able to overcome those obstacles. The 3 veterans I went through the program with, again, they are best friends of mine, but I got to learn some of the deepest, darkest things about them.
I'm sure.
And I had mentioned the art therapy. I mean, it was amazing, Eric, where
this, yeah, I mean, again, this, I'm just going back to that moment you spoke to everyone, and this is a different conversation because it's you and I, but I know this, and you told this story about the art therapy, which sounds, again, most men, I'll call myself, they're like, I don't need that. I'm too tough for this,
right.
But I paint, I do stuff that just you check out, right? So these masks, you guys paint masks.
Yeah, a warrior
which
mask.
sounds a warrior mask.
Yep.
Talk about that. You brought yours.
Certainly, I did.
I mean, it's
and
just,
I was skeptical, Eric, initially when I was going into this from the art therapy perspective. But even as a child, I loved drawing. I loved art. My mother's a phenomenal artist. And they would flip colors over and say, what's the first word that comes to your mind? And the first color was yellow. And so I thought joy, because that's when I think about my relationship with Christ. And that's where I find that joy and that peace. It's that consistent thing. And then she flipped over the color blue. And it was called Aquaman as a kid. I went in the Navy, and I loved the water. And I thought about the ocean, because that's my happy place. That's where, even today, last couple weeks, I have been on the beach quite a bit. I'm known for my Friday morning posts before disciple group. After a ruck, I go walk on the beach, and I just find that peace and serenity in the ocean. So when you look at my mask,
we'll hold. This is the one time I would hold it up to a camera here
when
too.
You look at my
still
mask,
shots.
You can see the yellow, which is the cross, and I'm not going to go through all the colors. Yeah. You see the blue, because that's where I find that peace, that serenity, is the ocean. And then she flipped over the color red, and it really hit me pretty hard. In that there's a few times in my life that I literally have seen red, and it's usually around a very bad event that happened in my life. And now this is where the ninja comes out, the secret, really what is this that's got a hold of you on the inside, Steve? And I drew a red monster, because that was what I saw at those moments. I saw red. There were some private moments in my life when I was trying to protect loved ones of mine, and that's when I saw red. And what's interesting, when you look at my mask, I mean, I've had 2 traumatic brain injuries from these car accidents. The second one resulted in quite a few staples in my head. But that's symbolized here, and the sutures that are there to symbolize keeping that red monster in and really controlling and working through those changes in your central nervous system. As a result of a traumatic brain injury, your whole central nervous system is out of whack. And that's where, through the combination of art therapy and extracting these emotions and feelings and be able to talk about them, and then implementing mindfulness and a breathing technique, so that when I see, actually on my way to the studio, a car coming up really quick behind me, I can get a jolt from it, and I can just breathe through it. It sounds simple. It sounds like hocus pocus, but it works.
I like to acknowledge these things, because breathing practices, again, we could talk about the water. You went through all this stuff, and if you don't see the video of this is a tough human being, right? You're in great shape. We talk about rucking and all the exercise stuff. We've talked about CrossFit previously, and we'll talk about 75 hard.
Oh, yeah.
You're on your second round, which is crazy.
Yep.
But again, if one guy or girl hears this and talking about a mask, which some people may be like, that's weird. That's some, hippie stuff. It's not. It helped you significantly, and the 2 people that went through the program with you and people going through it currently, I think it's pretty special. I appreciate you sharing that.
It really is, Eric. And Dr. Sorna and the entire clinical team, and Kelly, I mean, in the administration, I had a chance to speak with Congressman Rutherford when he came to visit, then Senator Bean, now Congressman Bean, and really tell my story and the impact that it's had on my life. And I am a man of faith, as we've talked about. And for some reason, the good Lord kept me around. And my next door neighbor is a retired pastor, and he said something that really stuck. He said, your guardian angel fumbled the football, but God picked it up, and you're here for a reason.
I'm a football guy, too. That's a good metaphor, by the way.
Go Jags.
Okay. One more win, baby.
Yeah.
Here we go.
We'll be there.
Here. How much time we got left to the commercial break? 4 minutes. Okay, we got a couple minutes left. The art therapy.
The art therapy was the ninja.
What the speech therapy? That's one that kind of surprises me. Why was that one that really stood out to you?
It was the way I pronounced words, the way I thought and processed. The way I processed my thoughts and communicated them. I will say, the dialogue with Michelle was just deep. And
Michelle
authentic.
was the speech therapist you worked with. Shout out to Michelle, too. We like giving shout-outs here.
And, but the piece that was really cool was when I would go from clinical meeting to clinical meeting, they knew what I had already expressed in the other meetings. And it just made the flow and the improvement so much more effective. Let's
acknowledge that, too. I mean, I like to poke fun of healthcare often, and you have these silos and communication from one EMR system to another, one physician from the next. That's a big part of this program is, again, you keep saying it, you only have to tell your story one time.
Yep.
You don't have to tell the story to 6 different, primary care providers or neurologists, whatever it is. That's a big deal.
It is a big deal. And also, Eric, think about it, like one of the guys I went through was a Vietnam era Navy SEAL Master Chief, retired. The real deal. He is the real deal. And, to walk with him through that process and that pain, and to be a shipmate, as we call in the Navy, which is what we're there for. And that's what I try to do today with all of my veterans, with even with the Emmanuel Project and launching that. We were really out there looking for homeless veterans.
I sometimes these are really high energy, upbeat. This is a serious topic. Yeah. I think something that the more there's a spotlight put on this organization and process for anyone who's interested, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story.
And if I may, Eric, I mean, obviously you can Google the Leon Haley Brain Wellness Program, but I'll put my cell phone number out there. Any veteran that wants to give me a call, or first responder, they can give me a call, 904-576-0604. I speak to multiple veterans every week, so I'd be happy to take your call. Just leave a message if I don't answer.
Steve Pappas, wow, pretty powerful first half there. That's what the health just happened. All right, welcome back to the second half of What the Health Just Happened. If you missed it on the radio show, good news is it's on your favorite podcast platform. What are they? Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, name it, whatever they are. Maybe YouTube too now. Trey's over there, got all this great footage. It was pretty heavy first half.
Yeah.
We talked about the Leon Haley Brain Wellness Program.
Yes.
Again, a mouthful. Steve Pappas here shared his story. Injury. I mean, again, that was heavy. So I can't thank you enough for sharing that. I'm going to try to lift it up a little bit. We like to do healthy or not healthy.
All right.
I wrote some down here.
Let's hit it, buddy.
Where are my notes here? Okay, healthy or not healthy? Is it 75 hard or hard 75?
75 hard.
75 hard.
Healthy, and that is healthy.
Oh, man, that sounds brutal.
It's hard.
You're on your second round.
Second round.
Okay, 75 hard is healthy. Healthy or not healthy? Rucking.
Very healthy.
It is, to me, one of my favorite things to do right now. It's simple, like even in the house doing chores. Definitely healthy. Okay, healthy or not healthy? Ryan Holiday books.
Healthy.
Well, I met him yesterday for coffee. He's reading Ego is the Enemy.
Ego's the Enemy.
Great book.
Great book.
Healthy or not healthy? Artificial intelligence.
Healthy as long as it's managed correctly.
If we have time, we might hit that because you're really diving down that rabbit hole.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll run out of time. We had mentioned this earlier. Healthy or not healthy? Medical marijuana.
Healthy.
I would say healthy for sure. Healthy or not healthy? Coping with alcohol.
Coping with alcohol?
To recover.
To recover is healthy.
You think
to get over? Like
no, I mean using that as a crutch to recover from an
Oh, it
injury.
is so unhealthy. It compounds. It's with what I see with the Veterans Treatment Court.
Yeah.
Alcohol is the biggest issue we have in our society.
I'm sure. And well, opioids are a big one too. Okay, last
is.
one. Healthy or not healthy, Pastor Joby's service at 1122.
Healthy.
He's the best.
He is. He knows
Pastor
how to bring the heat.
I mean,
Yep.
every single time my parents watch him, in-laws watch him from different areas. Yeah, I know.
And it's amazing, Eric, because it's all straight from the Bible.
Yeah, he is, as far as I'm concerned, is another close friend of mine who's
gift.
a pastor as well, coming on the show later on. But yeah, okay. You got any healthy or non-healthies you want to throw out?
Breakdancing.
Oh, healthy.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely.
So my F3 nickname is the Worm, and I'm
you
the
still do
Worm,
it?
not because of the movie Friday, but believe it or not, I
love the
can.
reference.
I just did it the other day for someone. But I used to win the daddy-daughter dance contest.
Oh, that's great.
I did it for all three of my daughters, and the clinch was me doing the Worm.
That'll win every time. So,
Yeah.
okay, healthy or not healthy, daddy-daughter dances.
Very healthy.
The healthiest.
Stay hydrated on water.
So my daughter's 5 now, and I've done a couple with her, and it's like I look forward to it more than anything else.
Oh,
And
it's
you
the
got
best.
a lot of
It's the
daddy-daughter
best.
dances.
Oh, yeah.
So again, first half, Leon Haley Brain Wellness Program for veterans and first responders. Traumatic brain injuries, post-traumatic stress disorder does not have to happen on duty, including your
It
story.
actually don't even have to have an honorable discharge. That's a big highlight to make. As long as you served in the military,
You are eligible for this
you're
program.
eligible for this program.
And I'm just, again, quick nuggets if someone's only catching the second half. 3-day, very intense process.
Assessment.
Assessment for it. And then it's 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yes.
So very intense program here.
It's a commitment.
You've gone through it.
Yes.
You would talk about, the one thing you'd mentioned wanting to talk about too is the graduation. Right? So your
Yeah,
daughter
so-
saved your life.
Yeah, my
Graduation
daughter
from this program.
really, Madison really saved my life. And what was the beauty about it, I didn't realize the magnitude of what I needed to have fixed. For instance, you had asked me, did I notice symptoms? Every single time I went from laying down to sitting up, the room would just spin. I had what's called BPV. There were crystals knocked loose from the impact. And so I basically had vertigo every single time I went from laying down to sitting up.
That sounds brutal.
My boy Neil at the Brain Wellness Program was able to fix that. But I will say, and it was emotional. Graduation was powerful, and I was able to invite my daughters to the graduation, and I wanted them to see kind of what I went through. I talked to them through the process. I was getting ready for a little trip I'll tell you about shortly thereafter, and it was an emotional graduation. But when I think about the courage my daughter had to have to come to dad and say, Dad, you need help.
Yeah.
You know, I'm grateful. I did something right. You know, she was raised the right way, and she had the courage to tell me that. And, you know, I had the humility to listen to her.
So Justin, I like to give them shout outs, even though they're not on the camera here. During the commercial break, had brought it up, you know, thinking about as a child, what emotions do you go through to bring this up to mom or dad? I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
so again,
Kudos.
a lot of kudos and props to her.
Definitely.
You've got so many cool stories. You've done a ton of cool things. We could talk about books,
Yep.
75 Hard.
Yep.
Let's talk about that trip.
Yeah, so I've been on many mission trips around the globe into some crazy places. But about a month prior to starting the Brain Wellness Program, I was sitting with a bunch of guys from my disciple group at a buddy's house, and Russia was starting to line up on Ukraine, and everyone saw what was going to happen. And there's probably, of the 8 guys that were there, I think 4 of us were veterans. And we just brought up, hey, why don't we put together a mission trip? And why don't we go over to Poland and go grab Ukraine refugees and run them into Spalia, Poland? And a dear friend of mine, Patrick, Church of 1122, is from Poland and had been there about a year prior, established a relationship with Pro-Am, which is an amazing partner of 1122. And I go through graduation, give my daughters big hugs afterwards, and then I knew I was prepared to go on this mission trip with 1122. We kept it. It was mentioned once at the tail end of a sermon that we were getting involved, and
It was
but
not something
it was not
openly
public.
discussed.
No, it wasn't. We just wanted because we didn't know what we were going into. And we were going to be running to the border. Some of our team, I promised my daughters, anytime I go on a crazy trip, they all have to agree or else I don't go. They said no.
Daughters need to give you permission.
Yes, I asked them for permission. And they said no initially on the request for Poland. And I had to put my sales hat on and said, well, what if we got invaded and you needed to run to Mexico? Wouldn't you want someone like your dad there to greet you? And they said that wasn't fair, but they ended up signing off on it. Yeah. And it was truly an amazing trip. Some of our team did go into Ukraine. I kept my word, except for when I chased a little dog that went back. I know.
Did they know this part or not?
I don't know if I ever told them. But it was by far the most emotional mission trip I had ever been on.
How long were you there for?
We were there for 13 days.
And this is you and 7 other gentlemen?
We actually had 5 gentlemen and 2 women.
And you're helping refugees right on the border.
Yes, we would greet them on the border. Again, some of our team went well into Ukraine. Some of not our team, but some of the people at Pro-Am would go all the way into Kyiv. Because of my relationships in healthcare, I'm going to give a shout out to MAP International out of Brunswick. They're the largest provider of free pharmaceuticals to indigent countries around the world. And between all of our mission trips, I think we took about $250,000 worth of pharmaceuticals that
antibiotics,
saline bags, you name it. We were able to run those. Yep. And when everybody heard, the hospitals in Ukraine didn't have anything, so we were able to show up there, and the Pro-Am team was able to get the product to those hotels or to the hospitels. You
said one of the most emotional mission trips. What was emotional about it? Is it just seeing human nature? At
the one,
yes.
It doesn't matter if you were a multimillionaire in Ukraine or if you were poor. You had 2 bags, and you were on that bus, and you were at the border to Poland. You're going through processing, and then we would greet them as they would come out and give them coffee or juice or some food, and talk with them as they got ready to transition into the next bus. And some of those refugees would come to the refugee camp we were staying at in Spaja, Poland. And you asked what was so emotional. And I had pictures of this. But, there was a mother and her teenage daughter sitting at a table. And that made me think of my daughters. And she's sitting there on her phone. And she just put the phone down and started crying. And her mother started crying. And my friend Patrick went over and prayed with them. And I just started bawling. I actually had to turn around and go to one of the porta pots and just kind of pull myself together. And, to see humans, fellow humans, in that much pain was powerful. And also knowing, having been in the military, understanding the magnitude of what was happening, some of the videos that they showed me, I will never be able to erase from my head.
Man, you got a couple heavy moments today.
I'll tell you what, but it truly was. And Pastor Maui and the team over there at Pro-Am, they have done an amazing job supporting Ukraine and Poland and helping that transition.
Again, this is every time I do this, it's not about me. Stories come up and I think about things. I used to do mission trips with my mom. Shout out to my mom. I would say, "Hi, Katie, I love you." Every episode I say, "Hi,
hey,
Mom." I did some mission trips with her from her church in South Florida, and then moved up here. Then I moved up here, and I haven't been on a trip in years. And that's something that I think any human that religious or not, go on a mission trip, and 1, you'll find your faith, but 2, you will see parts of the world that you probably don't know exist. And I think a lot of Americans, again, I love it here, that may be good for us. Yeah. To go see what's out there and what so many other people are going through.
Amen, brother. And I will say, and I'll say this, you don't really have to go too far. So I've had my consulting agency since 2012.
Yeah, I've survived these.
This is more important. I've survived these 2 horrible car accidents for some reason. I've been given a chance to leave my mark and have an impact on the community. And when I got back from Poland, a dear friend of mine called me up. He had picked up a family at an Ace Hardware in St. Johns County. It was a mom, dad, 6-week-old little girl, 11-month-old little girl. And they needed food. And when he looked at the little girl, she was completely yellow.
Jaundice.
And knowing Vaughn, he just said, hop in my truck, and took him home to his wife and 4 children, and called a mutual friend of ours, Dr. Bonnie White, who's a pediatrician, and she came over and took care of them. He calls me the next day, and I was getting ready to launch this new technology, some IP that I have specifically for surgery centers. And he said, Steve, we need to start a charity to provide free healthcare to the homeless. And I'm like, brother,
I've done all this other stuff going on. And all
I got
these
the
projects.
brain rewired. Now I'm ready to roll. And he said, just pray about it. And I started doing some work with some of the county government in St. Johns County, realizing really how bad is this problem. You know, St. Johns County, the wealthiest county in the state of Florida, we don't have an issue. When I was sitting with the deputy county administrator at the time, she said, Steve, you live in Nocte, right? I'm like, yeah. She said, well, you have homeless camps near there too. I'm like, what? You
Not
never
in
see
Nocte,
it. Not Nocte, not the bubble, right?
Everyone's got golf carts. There's no one.
Exactly. No, but in the reality is that there's a significant homeless problem in Northeast Florida. And we ended up raising money, purchasing a mobile medical clinic. I worked in partnership with the Florida Department of Health to use their sovereign immunity to provide our medical malpractice. Recruited a bunch of physicians. They were all volunteer. And we actually launched in Clay County in partnership with the Way Free Medical Clinic. And it's kind of like in my business life, whether I was taking over a new distribution center or something, I would say, give me the worst one, or give me one that's struggling. I want to learn. And when I said, where's the worst problem locally, I was told Keystone Heights in Clay County. And I had driven through it 100 times to go to Gainesville and see my oldest daughter, or go to a Gator game. And
I will not say go Gators, by the way. Okay. Although technically I just said it, but you know what I mean.
Yep, you did. And we launched there in October of 2022 in partnership with Mission of the Dirt Road. And we started having monthly clinics there. And it truly opened my eyes to how bad poverty is in Northeast Florida, and how just the basic healthcare needs are needed. So we launched the Emmanuel Project in October. We hired a full-time executive director. Mark Molzer's now the executive director. He's doing a great job. And by the time I left, we had taken care of over 300 people.
Let's plug that again too. So the Emmanuel Project.
Emmanuel Project of Northeast
You got so
Florida.
many. You're like a walking hero too, by the way. All these things you're doing, and we haven't even got to the business side, which I love talking about healthcare.
Certainly.
But the Emmanuel Project that you started, how do you find that information?
Certainly.
You know, if you want to get involved.
Certainly. We have a website, emmanuelproject.org. There are ways to donate to the Emmanuel Project there. We also have our calendar where you'll see where our mobile unit and team will be located every month. And we're throughout St. John's, Duval, and Clay counties right now. I know there's believe it or not, 38% of the population in Putnam County lives below the federal 200% of poverty line.
Jeez.
38%.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, buddy. And it's a lot of people that need care and need help. So thanks to the gentle nudging of my friend, we were able to launch this. And again, I passed the torch in October.
You were kind of founder, president of that organization, and just passed this on. What was his name you mentioned?
Mark Molzer is the new executive director for it.
Well done, Mark Molzer.
Yeah, Mark's carrying the torch now.
Again, there's 500 things that I want to talk about. You know, by the way, you may have to come back on, or once we build a studio in the office, we're getting you back on to talk about other stuff. Maybe touch on you're a numbers guy, I would guess. Just based off talking to you, you studied banking and finance. Operational procedures. So PSS was a huge company, bought by McKesson, still massive.
Yep.
Did some stuff there.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy most in the healthcare space? Professionally, right? I mean, we could talk about the frustration.
My experience has been from, building compounding pharmacies. I used to run one of the larger pediatric groups here in North Florida as the COO. But I love getting a new technology, a solution that improves patient education and engagement. I always think about, or I give the story of Charlie Brown. And when you hear, I can remember when I had a doc tell me I had skin cancer, and every word after that was wah, 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 right? And then I'm at Dr. Google, and oh my gosh, the world, the ceiling's falling. But if there's a better way to better connect the provider community with people that are managing their own care. I mean, we all have wearable devices now. there's so much data and information out there. It's just how do we deliver it in a way that will get people to move, to ruck, to follow the prescribed treatment that they have, or if they're having surgery, how do you get the prehab done in time? I've commercialized some really cool products that are used in some of the larger health systems now that really improve that patient education and engagement.
There's always a gap there. I feel like,
and you know from your experience.
I mean, again, I've got to tread lightly because I could just talk so negatively about the industry that we work in specifically. But there are, again, parts of it I love. That's why we do it.
Yeah.
Wearables. I got to tell a quick story. You know why I don't have a wearable?
Why is that?
I had an Apple Watch for less than a week and I broke it. And my wife's like, I'm not buying you another one.
You sound like my daughter Madison.
I can't have nice things. Let's talk about fitness too, because you are, I would say, very, very healthy, right? And
I am.
The incidents you had, if you weren't in the shape you were, it could have been worse.
Yeah. Well, luckily in the first one I was big. I really didn't have a neck. I was yoked.
Yoked. Yeah. I love. You just said yoked.
Yoked.
Oh,
yeah, I know.
My
I just
goodness. That's
just
great.
said that on what the
That's
hell
healthy,
just happened.
healthy.
What the hell
term
just
yoked.
happened? But yeah.
What I mean, again, to me, when people ask, and again, am I in the best shape of my life? No, I'm 40, almost 41, but I still would be healthier than most of my friends. But advice that you give to men or women your age, older or younger, what would you say health-wise?
You have one life to live. And I just spent some time in Asia where they believe in multiple lives. And, I actually had somebody say, on my next life, I'm going to do this. I'm like, well, why not do it now? But you have one life to live, and you have, your body is your temple, and you need to take care of your body. And it will, for me personally, has kept me away from pain pills. I think when I checked on my way in here, I'm already at 11 miles for today.
Oh, my goodness.
I did a shout out to my F3 Nation boys out there.
What does F3 stand for again?
Faith, Fitness, and Fellowship.
That's right. Faith, Fitness, Fellowship.
Yes.
Okay.
And just a great group of guys. It's peer-led. It's free for all men. And it's just a great community. But I do believe that, what you put in your body and how you treat your body will dictate the quality of your life. And because I've been given these chances, I did 75 hard for the first time.
I can't believe that, by the way.
In March last year. And it was kind of funny because on Father's Day, we all went to the beach, and my daughters were not used to seeing me with a six-pack, and they thought it was gross, which I thought was hilarious.
Oh, man.
But it's just a great way to really push yourself. 75 hard is a mental toughness challenge. It's not a physical challenge. It's a mental toughness challenge. This is
my familiarity with it, because I just haven't leaped there yet. I'm kind of not.
You'll get there, bud.
But so 2 workouts a day.
Yeah, 2
45-minute workouts.
Yes.
One has to be
outdoors.
Okay.
Yep. Then you have a strict diet.
Which is no sugar, no alcohol.
Well, the first time I did it, I cut out all carbs. It was strictly fish, chicken, vegetables, and fruit, and then a lot of whey protein.
Gallon of water a day.
Read
10 pages a day.
10 pages from a nonfiction book.
And what else? Am I missing anything from there? Which I'm not saying what else. That's a lot. For anyone who has not heard of this.
Yeah, you have to take a progress picture and weigh yourself. Unfortunately, I'm trying to gain weight on round 2. I'm 23 days into it, and I weighed in. I'm down 8 pounds. But
he's trying to get yoked.
I'm trying to get yoked again. But
the mental fortitude. If you miss a day, you're supposed to start
all over.
How many people get 30 days in, miss a day, and are like, well, let me start from scratch? Yeah. No,
it's a commitment.
And you're in your second round doing it. This guy's a bad man as far as I'm concerned.
But I'll tell you, it's the mental clarity and there's no alcohol, by the way. I didn't mention that.
Oh,
there's no
Okay.
alcohol. And which was great going through the holiday season. I was seeing some, I'm like, wow, I wonder if I acted like that. But many, many moons ago. But no, it's just about, that mental toughness challenge and feeling so much better.
Yeah. I like, and again, when someone asks me, it's just move. Right, the walking is underrated. Rucking right now, and Go Ruck's the local company. We talk about them all the time.
Yep.
You got some cool
They're
stuff.
amazing.
A lot of people say, well, they're just backpacks, so you put weights in. I'm like, it's more about a community. But
correct.
I put on my ruck and do chores around the house.
Yeah, or do burpees.
That's pushing it. No, I'm kidding. I'll do those. I'll do those. That's a burpee challenge next. We got 3 minutes here left.
Certainly.
Anyone else you want to give a shout out to?
I'd love to give a shout out. I mean, my mother, she recently had a surgery, and she's recovering from a reverse shoulder replacement. But I would say my 1122 disciple group, amazing guys. And just all those that are near and dear and close to me. It's truly been a pleasure, Eric, to meet you through the Jack's Chamber event. And, I can't emphasize it enough to go back to the Leon Haley Brain Wellness Program. If you're a veteran first responder out there, give me a shout. Check out the program. If you have any questions, I'm happy to talk to you. We were going to talk healthcare and business, that type of thing. But at the end of the day, what I care about is helping others. I've been given a gift of life. I live my life so much differently than a lot of people. And I want to have a big impact on our veteran community and our first responders that I can.
Well, I mean, again, God bless you, and I appreciate you. I'm serious. I hope we keep in touch and continue building this friendship, because it's just some people. I was like, man, I've got to meet this guy. I got to talk to this guy. And I'm glad you made it in. Leon Haley Brain Wellness
Program.
I almost said foundation, by the way. Then there's Emmanuel Project, another big one.
EmmanuelProject.org. Yep.
Metis One, that's your company
Metis
too.
One.
The consulting stuff.
Yes.
Mission trips, incredibly active with 1122,
Yes.
F3, 75 Hard.
Veteran Treatment Court.
What are you when are you going to write a book? When are you going to put author on that list?
That's coming.
Is it really?
It is.
I think you should. Yeah. Okay, so I don't say this to every guest, but Proverbs 27:17. Do you know what that is?
I don't know. Tell my
So as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. So thank you, Stephen, for being my iron. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
That was a heavy one. So thank you again, Steve Pappas. That's what the health just happened.
Thank you very much.